Coming to you live and direct from the News First studios here in Colombo. This is News First Primetime News on MTV Sports. I'm Ramesh Bandara.
And I'm Samadhi Gunasekara.
The US State Department announced yesterday that peace talks between Israeli and Palestinian negotiators will resume in Washington, D.C. this week. While many have welcomed the renewal of peace talks, others have taken to the streets in strong protest.
We have all angles of this story covered on News First International Desk. But before that, let's begin with the headlines.
26 years since the signing of the Indo-Lankan Accord, a satyagraha in Colombo against pressure exerted by the Indian government. Former Provincial Councillor Pramita Bandara Tennakon expressed doubts regarding the law.
මේ වගේ අසාධාරණයට ලක් වෙනවා නම් මේ රටේ සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාව ගැන අනිත් පිරිස ගැන කතා කරන්න අපිට ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Hunger strike at the Rothapaswala public grounds continues, demanding a solution to the drinking water crisis continues. TNS submits its nominations for the Northern Provincial Council elections. Malaga Silva, the son of Minister Mervyn Silva, has been assaulted by a certain group in Colombo. Minister Mervyn Silva spoke to the media regarding the incident.
මගේ මල්ලි නංගි මස්සිනේ මුන්දෙනෙක් මැරුවා. තිස්සමාරාමින් දෙද්දි UNP JVP හවුල. යන තිස්සමාරාමට මේ මරපු කී දෙනෙක් අද ඉන්නවද කියලා අහන්න. ගිහලා අහන්න තිස්සමාරාම.
We will have more news, more views expressed by Minister Mervyn Silva coming up later on in the news.
The three individuals who were taken into custody by the police in connection with the clash between supporters of former Central Provincial Councillor Pramita Bandara Tennakon and former chairman of the Naul Pradeshia Sabha, Tilak Bandara, were released on police bail today.
The clash broke out in the Kanuvulyai area in Naula last night. Former Central Provincial Councillor Pramita Bandara Tennakon charged that a group that arrived in a cab tried to run him over. However, the police media spokesperson's office noted that both parties had lodged complaints on threats being levelled and the arrested individuals were released. They noted that both parties had been instructed to appear before the police on the 8th of August. Pramita Bandara Tennakon spoke on the clash that occurred yesterday during a meeting held in the Atawarahena area in Inamalu, Dambulla. I am a good SLFPer. At a time when our party is in power, I expect that a fair and impartial investigation will be conducted into it and that justice will be meted out. I am an individual who loves and respects the police. This is because my father brought us up and taught us with the money he earned by donning this uniform. However, the respect I had towards the police diminished slightly due to the incident that took place yesterday. The cab that tried to run me over was not taken into custody. Instead, two of my vehicles were taken into custody. An individual who was under the influence of alcohol and could not stand on his feet was sent to get a doctor's report. The doctor's report stated that he was not drunk. The respect I had for the law, society and the country vanished within seconds. 4 hours after the incident, they had to accept that he was under the influence of alcohol when he blew into the balloon. If people like us face this kind of injustice, we won't be able to speak about the general public. I need to state with sadness that this is an era where people who were fostered by the government are attacking SLFPers like us. Joining the Sirasa press release program this morning, former chairman of the Naula Pradeshia Sabha Tilak Bandara shared these views. My opinion is that if there were any shortcomings, we should reach a settlement and ensure that such incidents do not reoccur in the future. We are not people who make such statements. We are grassroots level activists. I received nominations as the chairman of the Naula Pradeshia Sabha for the first time. I believe this is a great opportunity for the people of Lagala and Naula electorates. When you take the list of candidates, there is a large amount of people contesting. I do not know if these steps were taken to disrupt election propaganda activities in Naula. If there are any shortcomings on our part, we are prepared to rectify them and carry out our election activities.
News First inquired from police media spokesperson SP Buddhika Sirivardhana about allegations that have been levelled that an impartial investigation is not being carried out into the incident. SP Buddhika Sirivardhana noted that he will look into the matter and launch investigations.
In news from the election front, the Tamil National Alliance and the People's Welfare Front, or Janasatha Peramuna, submitted their nominations today for the upcoming provincial council elections.
The Tamil National Alliance submitted their nominations today for all 5 districts in the Northern Province: Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu, Vavuniya and Mannar. The nominations were submitted by the TNA's Chief Ministerial Candidate for the Northern Provincial Council, retired Supreme Court Justice C.V. Vigneshwaran. The Northern Provincial Council election holds special significance as it is being held after 25 years, during which there was no sitting council for the province. 51 nominations, including that of Chief Ministerial Candidate, retired Supreme Court Justice C.V. Vigneshwaran for the Northern Provincial Council, were submitted today by the TNA. The list of TNA nominees include former parliamentarian M.K. Sivajalingam, Tamil United Liberation Front General Secretary B. Anandasangari and plot leader Dharmalingam Siddharthan. 3 women, including the wife of the former LTT political wing head in the Trincomalee district, S. Elilan, are contesting the Northern Provincial Council election from the TNA. A Muslim from the Mannar district is also contesting the election on the TNA ticket. Meanwhile, the nominations of the Janasatha Peramuna for the Northwestern Provincial Council election were submitted today by the leader of the party, Venerable Battaramulle Silaratana Thera.
There used to be a chief minister from this area, and now again they are asking for a chief minister from the Kurunegala district. If there is any man with a spine here, I wish to ask them what service was rendered over the past 4 years. The people of the Northwestern Province need to think about who they are voting for.
The Janasatha Peramuna also submitted its nominations for the Puttalam district today. 19 candidates are contesting the election from the district.
Well, today marks 26 years since the signing of the Indo-Lankan Accord. Let's take a look back at the historic political agreement, which even today is cause of much debate.
The Indo-Lanka Agreement, which gave rise to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, was intended to resolve ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka. Days prior to the signing of the agreement, tensions were running high in several areas in Sri Lanka and special security provisions had been made. A prominent character in the signing of the Indo-Lanka Accord was the then High Commissioner of India in Sri Lanka, J.N. Dixit. On the 29th of July 1987, then Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, arrived in Sri Lanka. At 3:37 p.m., Gandhi and the Sri Lankan President J.R. Jayawardena signed the Indo-Lanka Agreement in the presence of high-ranking officials from both nations, marking a significant juncture in Sri Lanka's socio-political history. Following the signing of the agreement, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in Parliament, introducing the provincial council system and changing the dialogue on devolution of power in the nation. The Indian Peacekeeping Force, or IPKF, that arrived in Sri Lanka later and played a major role on the ground, was also introduced as a result of the Indo-Lanka Accord. Views were expressed that the agreement was forced upon Sri Lanka and that the provincial council system was introduced for India's want. While protests against the agreement cropped up in various parts of the island, these had a direct and significant impact on Sri Lanka's political process.
Meanwhile, a Satyagraha campaign was organized today against India's use of the Indo-Lankan Accord to pressure Sri Lanka into not amending the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. The Satyagraha campaign, organized by the National Organizations Collective, was held opposite the Indian High Commission in Colombo.
The National Organizations Collective staged a sit-in protest on the road adjacent to the Indian High Commission in Colombo. Severe traffic congestion was caused by the blocking of the road. Participants in this demonstration demanded the Indian and Sri Lankan governments to remove successionist powers in the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
On tonight's Words of Wisdom segment, we take a look at a famous saying by the pioneering Indian entrepreneur Ratan Tata.
Nothing can destroy iron except its own rust. Likewise, nothing can destroy a man except his own mindset. Ratan Tata, Indian entrepreneur.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa has called on all media institutions in the country to refrain from highlighting incidents that would create a distance between parents and children and to instead further strengthen the bond between children and parents. He made this statement during a meeting held this morning with newly recruited divisional child protection officers and sociologists of the National Child Protection Authority.
මුස්ලිම් දරුවෝ වේවා මේ දරුවෝ එක හා සමානව වෙවිලා අපිව දැකලා
Be they Sinhalese, Muslims or Tamils, children come here as equals and speak to me. When I speak to them, I gain some insight into what goes on in their provinces. Something that I realized is what these children are looking for. These children are looking for love. They come looking for love. Today, you are serving on behalf of these children. Your ministry is serving on behalf of these children. Thereby, you have a responsibility to think of all these children as your own children and serve them. You must have that dedication.
හැම දරුවෙක් වෙනුවෙන් තමන්ගේ දරුවෙක් විදියට කල්පනා කළා.
A hunger strike commenced by Buddhist monks and area residents at the Rathapassula Public Sports Ground demanding a solution to drinking water crisis they're facing continued today. The demonstrators gathered today anticipating the result of discussion held at the Gampha District Secretariat.
2 days have now passed since members of the Mahasangha and area residents commenced this hunger strike demanding a solution to a drinking water crisis which they say has affected about 5,000 families. People of Kuralumulla, Nadumgamwa, Uruwala, Siuramulla, Maharagama and Rathapassula engaged in the fast at the Rathapassula Public Sports Ground today as well.
The fast is continuing. We hope to send our representatives to Gampa and arrive at a decision with politicians. When we go to check the water, the MOH officials ask us to submit water samples under a different address and not say it is from Siulumuna or Nadugamua. They say that they won't get a proper analysis if the correct address is given. 7 to 8 people died on our paddy lands. No one claimed responsibility.
Representatives of the villagers left to participate in the discussions at the Gampha District Secretariat upon receiving an invitation. Meanwhile, News First visited the area today to ascertain the claims made by villagers regarding contaminated water. Melanie Asangika Piris died of a sudden germ infection 3 months ago. She was a 39-year-old mother of 2. We received reports that this death is also connected to the ongoing dispute about the water in the area. My wife fell ill and 4 days after taking medicine, she got better. Then one day after returning from school, she complained that her body was aching. She was admitted to hospital. At around 7:30, she was admitted to the ICU. When we went the next day, she was not in her senses. She died the next day at around 9. The death certificate states that the death was caused due to a germ entering her blood. In the Nadumgamua area, we met with 60-year-old Anula Airangani Senarath. She says that she went blind as a result of consuming contaminated water. Farmland in about 15 villages in the area have been abandoned as a result of contaminated water flowing in. This is the Siuralumulla field located in Nadumgamua. At first glance, this is a fertile paddy field. However, the farmers of the area know that this paddy field has been abandoned for a number of years. They have abandoned this land as farmers who enter the paddy field contract some form of sickness. They believe the toxins in the water cause these diseases.